Welcome to Rainy Day Rabbit Holes, where we take the history of the West off the rails.
If you like your history unhinged, you are in the right place.
I'm Shay.
And I'm Jody.
Let's fall down the rabbit hole.
Let's set the stage. It's the early 1850s, and the Pacific Northwest is still frontier country. Imagine dense cedar forests, towering Douglas firs, endless rain, and a shoreline teeming with canoes and occasionally creaky ships from San Francisco or beyond. The Duwamish and Suquamish peoples have lived here for generations. Their leader, Chief Sealth, was already a respected figure, diplomatic, calculating, and deeply concerned about his people's survival as settlers pushed further into the Puget Sound. And then enter David Doc Maynard. So Shay, today's rabbit hole is a story of an unlikely friendship that changed the Pacific Northwest forever. And still today we see the evidence of it. It's about two men, Doc Maynard and Chief Sealth, who, against all odds, found common ground in a world defined by land grabs, broken treaties, and settlers who could barely stand each other. Their relationship didn't just shape early Seattle, it created a legacy that still ties their descendants together more than a century later. So I know you have no idea what's coming, but I promise you, this is one of those stories where the frontier feels less like a dusty history book and more like a soap opera with politics, betrayal, drinking, gambling, and of course, a little scandal.
Yes.
So welcome to Rainy Day Rabbit Holes, Doc Maynard and Chief Sealth, the odd couple who shaped Seattle.
I love it. I'm so excited. I've been wanting this story for a while.
I know, and I've been wanting to tell this story for a while, and this is like, we discussed our theme for November, and I was like, that's the story.
Yes.
So here we go. Doc Maynard was not your typical pioneer. He wasn't here for piety, like the Denny party, or for the manifest destiny glory. He was here for reinvention. Back in Ohio, his life was a little messy. He was a doctor, but he was also a gambler and had a tendency to drink too much. And there was the minor detail where he just left his wife behind, wandered west, and remarried before his divorce was even finalized.
I mean, I feel like that was fairly typical.
Right. And it seems like it'd be very easy to do. Record keeping and transparency between different frontiers or states or areas wasn't happening.
Well,
so.
And you're away from your family for years in a new land, and you're busy doing stuff, and you'd get the occasional letter from your wife and family, and but it's, you're focused on what's present and current.
Yeah. I've thought about that multiple times listening to stories of this era, and how do you keep those relationships going, and how do you say goodbye to somebody on their way off on this adventure to make a better life for you when you know you're not going to see them for years. Years. It's just,
and it's not like
the sacrifice to survive or to persevere or to go out and get, more stability for your family or whatever it is was just insane to me.
Some of these pioneers, like I think about Henry Yesler, like he didn't need to go west.
Yeah.
He was fairly successful where he was. They were comfortable. It was this sense of adventure and going to bigger and better things. And the West Coast at that time to the white settlers was a free land with nobody in your way.
Right. It's all yours to take.
Devoid of humans.
It's all yours to
that
have.
Mattered. Right.
Here's a certificate. It's yours. See?
Yes. The government that has been set up in the United States says you can go the Homestead Act didn't happen until 1862, but it was already kind of, that's what you did. You went and you're like, this
territory is mine.
Square hectares or whatever is mine now. And you're here. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. You need to go somewhere else.
Because you have this piece of paper.
Exactly. But, you think about it, like people do long distance relationships now, but we have the benefit of modern technology.
Yeah.
You can talk and look at each other and have video every day. I mean, for goodness sake, they have
send pictures
sex
constantly.
toys that you can
use together.
use together over the distance. Along distance relationship back then was a letter once a month if you were lucky.
If you were lucky. And no photographs, really. That would have been a very...
Photographs were very expensive, very
expensive,
rare. Yeah. People looked miserable in them.
Like, imagine not seeing your children for 2, 3 years, 5 years. They have significantly changed. You're a stranger to them.
I want to say Henry Yesler didn't see his son for 13 years.
Yeah.
It's a now fully formed human being.
Right. With no relationship with you whatsoever.
Yeah.
No familiarity.
Yeah. So here's Doc Maynard. Bye, honey. Mwah.
Off we go.
See ya, maybe, never.
Never. Telling the story in a different form, you find out that, the gambling and all of those things led to, they were not on good terms. They did not leave he did not leave on this adventure with a good marriage.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this was kind of like, I'm going to see if I can go.
The divorce just wasn't official.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So he sounds like he was somewhat of an addict.
Yes.
Between the gambling and the alcohol.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And it doesn't sound like he was a promiscuous or a sex addict of any kind. He just was, after time moved on. And he actually... We'll get into it.
Yeah.
Okay. So technically he was a bigamist, but the frontier, it seems, had a very loose HR policy. So you could go ahead and be a bigamist.
Well, in a lot of the stories we've done, I feel like this is a pretty reoccurring theme where somebody gets married and the paperwork wasn't done correctly, or they got married too soon, or just forgot.
Yeah. Or forgot. Yes. Very common theme.
So, it happened. I mean, I think Hazard had a similar situation.
Hazard, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways,
that's right. Good recall. That was a great episode too. That was a good
That
story.
was a really good one.
So when Maynard stumbled into the Puget Sound, he saw opportunity. While most settlers were focused on carving out farmland or cutting down every tree in sight, Maynard thought like a businessman. He saw the bay, the rivers, the deep harbor, and realized this place could actually be a great city. Here's another difference from Maynard and other pioneer settlers. He saw the people already living there not as obstacles, but potential partners. He did not seek to eliminate the Native Americans in the area, but he saw them as valuable assets to the mission, partners that he could work with. They could both benefit from a relationship and the changing landscape.
That's definitely a unique viewpoint at the time.
Yes, exactly. Here we go. Most settlers at the time treated Native leaders as enemies. Or at best nuances. But
standing in their way.
Yep, exactly. Just get out of my way. This is mine. But Doc Maynard, he had a different idea. As the story goes, when Maynard met Chief Sealth, he didn't approach him with threats or condemnation. No, condescension.
Condensation. He didn't get them all moist.
Yeah, no condescension.
That is actually a hard word to say.
I know. When I'm reading it, I'm like, condescension. He listened to Chief Sealth. He respected him, and somehow the two struck up an actual friendship. Chief Sealth was no fool, though. He was a strategist. He understood what was coming. By this time, he knew the settlers could not be stopped. They were coming. They were taking over. And in order to survive, they were going to have to survive with the settlers there. So how do we do this?
They were going to have to adapt somehow.
But Maynard offered something unusual. Someone on the inside who actually advocated for these people. So Maynard pushed for trade that included Native families. He went out of his way to defend Chief Sealth in arguments with rival settlers. And most famously, he insisted the new town be named after him. Though the settlers' version of Sealth became Seattle, this is where we get the name Seattle from Chief Sealth. And that was at the recommendation of Doc Maynard. I'm going to try really hard not to call him Doc Martin this entire...
I know you already did it before we started.
I did.
Excellent show, by the way, Doc Martin. I want to live in that little town.
I put the... when I saved this in Google Docs at first, I named it Doc Martin. I'm like, what is my problem?
You're even writing it incorrectly. You're auto-correcting in your brain.
In my brain, yes.
To Martin.
Before you'll hear me pause before I say his name. Because even as I'm reading it, I'm struggling. And here's the kicker. Some settlers thought this was a terrible idea. Naming a town after a Native leader while he was still alive, They thought this was risky and even scandalous. Some whispered it would bring bad luck. But Maynard held firm, and history sided with him.
I wonder if really they feel like it would give him too much power.
Yeah, right. These are not people you want to honor and recognize. My goodness, these savages.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that would have been the predominant thought at the time. But he won the battle, and he named the town after him, and now it's Seattle to this day. So this is where the story gets spicy. If Maynard was a fun-loving, hard-drinking, occasionally scheming town promoter, then Arthur Denny and his family were his polar opposite.
Mm-hmm.
The Dennys were devout, serious, pious, and absolutely scandalized by Maynard's lifestyle.
Boring.
Right. Denny thought that there was no way we should listen to anything Maynard said because he was just a drunk.
I knew who I would want to be friends with.
Right. Yes, for sure. I would definitely be hanging out with Doc Maynard and not the Denny family.
Or Doc Martin. Whichever one.
Either.
Over
the Dennys. So picture a town divided. On one side, the buttoned up religious settlers who wanted to build a respectable community. Mm-hmm. On the other side, you have Doc Maynard, who thought saloons, gambling halls, and dance floors would attract more people and more money.
And he was right.
100%. And Maynard didn't just clash with the Dennys over morality. He clashed with them over politics. When Maynard proposed fairness in trade and better treatment for the Duwamish, the Dennys bristled. They saw Native people as outsiders to be pushed away, not partners. So the Dennys wanted nothing to do with the natives in what now is Seattle.
And Chief Sealth, he was Duwamish?
I believe so. Yes, he was. At one point, it got so bad that Arthur Denny basically tried to freeze Maynard out of leadership entirely. In the history of Seattle, you can practically feel the passive-aggressive energy radiating through their letters and meeting notes. And yet Maynard didn't back down. If anything, his alliance with Chief Sealth only deepened. I would imagine that the Dennys being so anti-Native inclusive that Chief Sealth would even go towards Maynard even harder. You know, he'd be drawn to that. That would be the least resistance to their success and survival. So, okay, Shay, here's where things get a little even more unhinged. Maynard wasn't just a drinker and a gambler. He was also a man of contradictions. He could be incredibly generous. He gave away land for Seattle's first hospital, its first university, and even land for churches, despite not being particularly religious. But then he was also the guy who left his first wife in Ohio, ran off with another woman, and never exactly cleaned up the paperwork. Technically speaking, he was a bigamist for years. And not only that, his second wife was much younger than him and had lost her family. He came over on the Oregon Trail, and he provided support to those traveling as a doctor. He was a doctor, so he helped out with, injuries and illnesses, and that's how he participated in the group getting there. And at one point, this young woman's family got very ill and passed away, and she was the only one left.
Dysentery.
Yep.
Everybody died of dysentery on the Oregon Trail.
And but he was much older than her, and he just took care of her and eventually built a relationship with her that became one of the romantic. And they actually made it to Oregon, and her brother was like, absolutely not. This is not happening. But he couldn't keep them apart. So they ended up married and living quote unquote happily ever after. But again, I was trying not to rewrite another story.
I'm surprised that he didn't take a Native wife.
I'm wondering if he would have had he not found this young woman on the trail.
Because Henry Yesler did.
And Maynard seems like somebody who would be open to that idea. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm sure Chief Sealth would have been like, here's, a lady for you.
Yeah, right. Right. This one is not taken in. Very, very nice.
She's perky.
Your word of the day.
Her buttocks are not cleaved by anything. I don't think they wear underwear.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely not a thong.
Singing how soft buffalo hide is, and totally make that up.
I found it very interesting. One of the things that they would use to make clothing here was cedar bark.
Oh, yeah.
And they would pound it until it was
Yeah,
soft.
that's right.
And create clothing out of cedar bark.
I don't think I'd want underwear out of that.
Feels like it'd be splintery.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a place, gosh, is it down in Graham, Eatonville? I can't remember, but there's Pioneer Park or Pioneer, I don't know. But basically you can go through this forest and there's stops along the way. I went there for a field trip and then you see all the stuff from pioneers, but also the Native Americans. So they pounded out good, Shay, less slivers.
They pounded it good. Well, I just think about like whenever I get mulch and I'm spreading mulch and the splinters get in your socks.
Oh yeah.
And
forever.
It's just awful. Yeah. You have to throw those socks away.
Yeah. You'll never get that washed out. So back to the story. There were also rumors that he dabbled in shady deals, trading land titles and cutting corners. Was he a visionary city builder or just a hustler who happened to back the right horse?
I mean, I think everybody was both.
Both. Yep.
Days.
Yep. It was both. But Chief Sealth trusted him, and that trust shaped Seattle. So now let's shift focus to Sealth, away from Maynard into Sealth. Chief Sealth wasn't just a local leader. He was a strategist who thought generations ahead. He understood that the resistance could only go so far. So we can only battle the oncoming pioneers so long. We better change our trajectory.
This wave of immigration.
Yes, this wave of immigration. We're not going to win this. They're gonna be here. So instead, he tried to secure some kind of survival for his people by forging alliances.
Smart. What a novel idea, actually working with people instead of trying to build walls.
Yeah.
Working with people to enrich your own life instead
for both of you.
For both of you.
It's beneficial to both.
Building walls, yeah. Because if you can't stand in the way of change.
Right.
The world changes. Even if people didn't express change upon each other, literal earth changes over the millennia. So you may be happy in your valley one year and then the next year there's a massive earthquake and it literally changes the landscape of where you live, or a volcano erupts and it fills in the valley where you live. I mean, I'm talking about things that have happened right here in the Pacific Northwest. You know, we look at the area that Jody and I live in is a volcanic valley. It was ocean at some point.
Yeah.
You know, and then it's filled in over the years with different volcanic eruptions from Mount Rainier.
And if that Cascadia fault goes, we might be waterfront again.
I know. I was terrified when I read that article about we're like overdue for another giant devastating earthquake here.
Yeah. I've heard that since I was a child, though. So I mean,
the 2005 one was pretty bad.
Yeah,
the Nisqually.
Yeah,
quake. But you know, if instead of just sticking your head in the dirt and being like, nope, not going to change, not going to adapt, you know, you actually work with the change and learn to adapt. You can become stronger and greater and more nuanced and just, I don't get it anyway.
Richer in soul. I mean, what you gain from becoming partners with another culture or allowing in and learning from and teaching immigrants it's valuable. It's enriching.
You can learn things from other people.
Or you can just be mad about it.
Yeah.
Back to the story. Back to our original immigration.
When we were the illegal immigrants. Hey there, it's your girl Shay. Real quick announcement. At the very end of this episode is another installment of our bespoke Patreon fan fiction. If you want to be the star of your very own story, all you have to do is join our Patreon. Not only will you end up getting your own piece of bespoke fan fiction inspired by one of our episodes, but you'll get ad-free episodes a day or two early, bonus content, and more. Head on over to rainydayrabbitholes.com/support to check it out. Or if you want to order your own piece of custom fan fiction for yourself or a loved one, we're willing to do that too. That service is available on our Patreon, which you can access through rainydayrabbitholes.com/support. Thanks again to all of our supporters. Now, on with the show.
One of the most famous moments tied to his name is the so-called Sealth speech, a plea for environmental respect and for thinking about the world we leave behind for our children. Now, the version you see on posters and bumper stickers has been heavily romanticized, even rewritten by white settlers decades later. But the heart of it, that belief in interconnectedness, was real. So as we talk about how Native Americans in general, throughout America, were very connected to Mother Nature and the earth. And they even, roamed the areas based on the season and what was in season and growing and where they could hunt. And they moved with Mother Nature. They didn't claim earth as theirs.
Right.
They wandered around and ate from what the earth had to offer them.
Not to say that Native Americans weren't brutal to each other.
Right.
That's a human trait.
Right. But as far as the environment goes and respecting the earth and how we talk about it now, we do romanticize it. I remember as a child talking about it like they were the, it's, yes, romanticizing it, but it's an honorable respect for the earth. And it's not wrong.
No, and it's severely lacking today, especially in our administration.
We just want to take advantage of what the earth has to offer and not
drill, baby, drill.
Gosh, I wonder if that's happening. It's not. And it's one reason South's name endures this day, not just as a city, but as a symbol. He's a well-known Native American leader in our local history. Everybody gets to hear about him around here. Not famous across all history books, but definitely in this area.
For sure.
So here's the part I love the most, though. The story doesn't just end in the 1800s. The descendants of Doc Maynard and Chief Sealth are still connected today. They show up at ceremonies together, at anniversaries of the city's founding, and even in the long-running fight for federal recognition for the Duwamish tribe. Think about this for a second. A gambler doctor turned frontier hustler and a Native American leader who tried to safeguard his people's future over 150 years ago. Their families are still tied together by the same city that they helped build. And not only that, fighting for the citizens on both sides of that community. Seattle isn't just named for South. It's defined by the partnership: messy, complicated, imperfect, but enduring. And here's the rabbit hole part. What if Maynard hadn't befriended Chief Sealth? Would Seattle exist as Seattle? Well, I probably wouldn't have that name.
It'd be named Denny or something.
Yes. But would it have that character? Would it have that? I grew up thinking as a kid that I lived in an area that was special because there was Native Americans here and Native American history, not realizing that's America.
Right.
But because we honor it and talk about it and see it, and it's in their local names of our cities and our streets and all of that, I thought we were special here. But we're special in the way we honor them, I believe, and starting with Doc Maynard and Chief Sealth.
Yeah, I'd say we do a better job here in the Pacific Northwest of honoring the Native people that were here long before white settlers arrived than many other parts of the country where, at least we name stuff.
Right. I mean, yes, I was going to say, we have far from perfect.
Far from perfect.
But better than many areas.
I feel like we try a little bit more here in the Pacific Northwest to not be jerks. Somewhat, kind of, sort of.
So like you said, would it be called Dennyville? Or worse, something truly boring like New York Alki?
New York 2.
Did you know that New York Alki was actually a name that was floated?
Yeah, I did it in my Henry. You weren't there for the Henry Esser episode, but yes.
Isn't that crazy?
And then I was just thinking, because also there was Bell, right? And then I was like, oh, it could be called Belltown. I was like, I just had a light bulb moment. I did not connect Belltown in Seattle, the neighborhood of Seattle, with it was Arthur Bell. Wait, who was the Bell?
Arthur Denny.
Bell was one of the, but I can't remember his first name. One of the founding fathers of Seattle.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
I just connected that's why it's called Belltown.
That's hilarious.
Wow. I was many years old.
Like this whole light bulb actually popped. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you did. I was like, oh, that's why.
And so now it's just a little neighborhood and not an entire city.
Oh, you're like, oh, you poor little homeschool girl. Pat me on the head.
Oh, no, I have moments like that as well. I was not homeschooled and literally thought we had a special area where only area where Native Americans live. What if Chief Sealth had refused Maynard's hand in help? Would the Duwamish and the Suquamish have had less leverage in those years? Would we even know about them? Would we even be fighting them for them today? Would we have the Duwamish River?
Would they have been wiped out?
Yes, exactly. History is full of strange alliances, but this one, between a hard-drinking doctor and a visionary native leader, literally shaped the identity of an entire city that stands today. So that's the story of Doc Maynard and Chief Sealth, Seattle's odd couple. One was flawed, big-hearted schemer, and the other was a leader trying to safeguard his people's survival. Together, they built something bigger than themselves, and it withstands today, the city of Seattle and the entire surrounding area, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that their families are stilling today, that's the kind of history that makes the past feel alive. And that's why I love this rabbit hole. So that is our rabbit hole for today. Chief Sealth and Doc Maynard, Seattle's odd couple.
Well done. I love it. I'm glad we finally got to do Doc Maynard.
Yeah. He was a fun guy.
Yeah, I want to be friends with him.
Yes. Most of the stories talk about his history with getting here, his history with, he had a lot of relationships that were very complicated on his travels and in his work trying to build the city of Seattle and his vision. There are lots of stories about that, but I just wanted to cover the Chief Sealth side of this and how it perseveres today. Those families still regularly connect and work on issues that they need.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it'd be cool to be descended from somebody so important like that. Have that in your
right?
history.
Right?
That was
I'm just gonna have to be that person.
Exactly.
Just kidding. I will not be doing any of those amazing things. One of my children or grandchildren will have to do it for our family.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that you highlighted the importance of the Native Americans in the story of Seattle.
Yes.
They're sometimes left out.
Yes. And I don't think we've covered a lot of that
No,
in our stories.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot about, the road getting here, the greed, the gold, those struggles, but not too much about the Native culture here or the struggles that they had.
Well, one reason is I don't want to appropriate somebody else's culture and tell their story.
Right.
Because I don't know that I can do it justice. But I still think we need to incorporate it into our stories and appreciate it and highlight it. And while we may not fully be able to tell their story in a way that does it justice, we can at least try.
Right.
So, yeah. Well, thank you,
We'll do our
everyone.
best.
Appreciate you tuning in again. And if you like this episode, please go and leave us a nice 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. And if you want more, if you want ad-free episodes a day early and bonus content, as well as the opportunity to have your own bespoke piece of fan fiction written with you as the star, head on over to rainydayrabbitholes.com/support to sign up. You can find all of our episodes, and we're going to get back onto our blogs soon at rainydayrabbitholes.com. Our website is coming together, and by the time this is out, it's probably going to be live. Our new beautiful website made by Letha Davis of lethadavis.com.
She is amazing, by the way.
Our marketing manager.
Amazing.
Marketing mistress,
Marketing
website
mistress.
wizard. Website wizard. So thank you, Letha. We appreciate you every day. All right, guys. Well, we will see you next time, and
see you down the rabbit hole.
Welcome to Rainy Day Rabbit Holes, where we take the history of the West off the rails.
If you like your history unhinged, you are in the right place.
I'm Shay.
And I'm Jody. Let's fall down the rabbit hole. All right, Shay, welcome to our fan fiction episode.
I love these.
I can't wait. This one's for New Eric. Explain to everyone how we got to New Eric.
Okay, because we have a Patreon whose name is Eric with a K.
Patron on our Patreon?
Yes, thank you. We have a patron on our Patreon named Eric Flint. He is the historian from the Lewis Army Museum. I lost my brain there. I had a mini stroke right then. And so he was already a patron, and then we got a new patron named Eric with a K.
Yeah. Two Erics
Two
with a K.
Erics with a K. So he's new Eric, so we could differentiate them.
Yes. And randomly chosen for Eric, for New Eric is our pickleball episode. So we will be telling the tale of how Eric actually invented pickleball.
Nice job, Eric.
And why you don't know about it. All right, Shay, but before we get into the story, let's let our listeners know. If you want your own bespoke piece of fan fiction where you are the star, join our Patreon. Not only will you get a custom story where you take center stage, but you get bonus episodes, ad-free and early episodes, and even free merch at the higher levels. I mean, if you send a message to remind Shay.
Yeah, I'm very terrible about remembering to contact you about your free merch after it's quarterly. So if you are a $10 or above subscriber and you've not gotten free merch, you need to message me, please.
Yes, just head over to rainydayrabbitholes.com and you can shoot Shay a message, or you can sign up for our Patreon.
Yep. You can email me at shay@rainydayrabbitholes.com.
And tell them about our other offer that you can find on
So let's
website.
say for some crazy reason you're not a member of our Patreon. You don't want those early episodes or those ad-free episodes or the bonus episodes or the free merch. You're a little silly, but we won't hold it against you. Maybe you've got somebody special who has a birthday coming up and you can't figure out what in the heck you're going to get them. We will create a bespoke piece of fan fiction based on one of our episodes for that person. So it'll be a one-time donation and you can sign up at rainydayrabbitholes.com/support. There will be a button there that will take you to the link. You'll fill out a little bit of information about the person who the story should be for, if there's an episode in particular that you want it to be based on, or if you just want us to choose an episode at random and you don't have to commit to anything. It's just that one-time payment and you get your very own story for you. So again, rainydayrabbitholes.com/support. All right, now on with this week's
New
fan
Eric.
fiction. New Eric.
New Eric, the forgotten founding father of pickleball.
Oh, wow.
It's the summer of 1965 on Bainbridge Island, Washington. The weather is bad. The kids are whining, and the adults, Joel Pritchard, Barney McCallum, and Bill Bell, are doing that parent thing where they all stand around saying, "What did people even do before television? Just stare at the grass?" Enter New Eric. Nobody's really sure who he belonged to. Some said he was a cousin visiting from Spokane. Others swore he just wandered out of the woods one day holding a sandwich and impeccable clothing. Whatever the truth, New Eric was there, lurking at the edge of history like a trickster god in tube stocks. Chapter 1, The Net Problem. The parents have instructed the kids to find something to do to cure their boredom. But like all boomers, they took over the entire process when it looked like it might be fun. The parents were trying to play badminton, but the shuttlecock keeps getting carried off by the wind like a runaway balloon. The kids are melting into puddles of boredom. New Eric pipes up. "Why don't you just lower the net? I mean, it's not a church steeple. You can totally move it." The adults give him that, whatever, sure kid smile because, we just ignored kids in those days.
Exactly.
5 minutes later, Joel Pritchard speaks up. "Hey, gentlemen, what if we just lower the badminton net?" Barney McCallum gasps, "That's genius."
What a great idea, Joel, that you definitely had and came up with.
New Eric mutters, "Unbelievable. I literally invented gravity for you just now," and moves on. Chapter 2, The Ball Debacle. So the shuttlecock wasn't really working in this game that they've now invented. They went to the shed full of sports equipment, deflated basketballs, a single roller skate, a mysterious bowling pin, and New Eric digs out a perforated plastic ball, much like a wiffle ball. "This," he declares, "is perfect. It won't fly too fast and nobody will lose it, and you can keep your eye on it." The adults ignore him and keep pawing through the junk. 10 minutes later, Bill Bell triumphantly holds up the exact same ball. "I've got it! We've discovered the perfect ball." New Eric just shrugs his shoulders. "Sure, pretend it fell from heaven instead of from my left hand." Chapter 3, The Rules of the Game. The kids start batting the ball around with makeshift paddles, and chaos erupts instantly. Balls flying, children screaming, someone's lemonade got spilled.
Oh no.
New Eric, clipboard in hand, like a tiny commissioner, announces, Rule 1, the ball has to bounce once before you return it. Rule 2, only the server can score. Rule 3, wear sunscreen, you pasty fools. Said Jay.
Exactly.
The adults, of course, wave him off. We don't need any kid over here talking to us about rules. Then 30 seconds later...
Who do you belong to anyway? Where are your parents?
Who is this kid?
Where do you live?
I think he's one of ours, but I can't remember who he belongs to. But then 30 seconds later, Barney yells, hey, what if the ball has to bounce before you hit it back? And everyone nods, applauding. Brilliant.
Great idea, Barney.
And New Eric just writes in his notes, history is a thief. Chapter 4, the name game. At the end of the day, everyone collapses on the lawn, sweat-soaked and proud. Joel Pritchard strokes his chin. I think we invented a new game, and I think it needs a name. A magnificent name. As Pickles the dog trots by, tail wagging, ball in mouth, New Eric says, well, obviously we should call it Pickleball. Named after the dog who literally just walked by with the ball in his mouth. Obviously. The kids cheer. It's perfect. But one of the adults coughs. Actually, I think it should be named after a pickle boat in rowing. I don't think it should be named after the dog Pickle. You know, the boat made of leftover oarmen. Very dignified. Everyone nods. All the adults are on board. Yes, yes, rowing. It's so noble. New Eric throws his hands in the air. Really? You'd rather name it after the loser boat than the heroic dog standing right here in front of us.
The loser boat.
You know, the backup team.
She's so competitive.
They didn't win first spot on the boat. Pickles barks once, mournfully. History once again sides with the tall, sweaty men. So I never even thought about that.
Typical.
Poor Pickles the dog, you know, when we discussed where the name Pickleball came from. I never thought how insulting that might be for him.
No.
Chapter 5.
Call it rough ball.
Oh, there you go. For your
Rough.
dog. Well, we need to invent a new game, and we'll name it Rough Ball.
Exactly.
But it can't have balls because you don't like ball sports.
That's true. Rough. No. I'll workshop it later.
Yeah, that was rough.
It was really rough.
Okay, so chapter 5, the legacy of New Eric. So now, the official story is Joel, Barney, and Bill created pickleball on a dreary Bainbridge Island day. And sure, maybe they did, but not without New Eric.
Yeah.
Every rule, New Eric. The ball, New Eric. The net, New Eric. The name, New Eric. Even the sunscreen that nobody even talks about. New Eric. But when the books were written, his name vanished like footprints in the sand. Some say Eric wanders Bainbridge Island waiting for the day someone finally invents a sport and credits it to him.
The ghost of Bainbridge
Will
Island.
they recognize
New
his
Eric.
efforts? So the next time you're on the pickleball court, paddle in hand, whisper a quiet thank you. Not just to Joel, Barney, and Bill, but the forgotten genius, the patron saint of being ignored by adults, New Eric. Because to be real, without him, you'd just be staring at grass.
Yeah.
Like they used to do before television.
So if you run into a ghost on Bainbridge Island that's just muttering, it's just New Eric mad because they took the credit for pickleball.
And just ignored everything he said. You know what's funny is I'm writing this story. It's got a lot of personal experience, you know, being a kid in those days. Like when you watch parents and people with kids now, it's like they focus on them. There's attention. They say something, you respond. Like what they're saying matters. And when we were kids, that was not the case. It was like, not really caring.
Yeah, nowadays people squat down to be at the child's level and talk to the child and try to understand them and
their perspective or whether
and explain things to them. No, you do it because I said so.
Yeah.
Don't eat it or wear it.
Yeah. No one cared about things we had to say.
I mean, it was go play outside. And outside did not mean go play outside in the backyard. Outside meant go play in the street in front of your house and just be home by dark.
Yeah.
Or
go
by
away.
Yeah, it was go away and don't bother us for at least 8 hours.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
And so
I feel new Eric's pain too.
I do.
Yeah.
I reminisced. I was like thinking, I bet I invented something once and everybody ignored me.
Same. I bet I did too.
Now I act like dumb kid.
Us poor, long-suffering Gen Xers.
Yes.
We're the persecuted ones.
Hopefully Eric's a Gen Xer, not a boomer now that I've...
I don't think he is. He might be a millennial.
Oh, got ya. All right. Well, he's on the right side of that boomer statement in my story.
You're close. A poor, remember when millennials were like, ugh, millennials. And now they're like basically Gen Xers.
Yeah, right.
Because they're all in their 40s now.
Right. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they are a millennial, and Gen Z.
Yeah.
Oh, he was just like, oh, they just don't even come to work. I was talking to somebody one day, and they were like, yeah, they just randomly just don't show up whenever they don't want. I have to hire just, a third extra people just to cover the shifts when people just don't show up. And I'm like thinking, hey, that's weird. Like, how do you not just fire them? I didn't know places work like that. But, and also, like, isn't that cute? You're a millennial mad at Gen Z for being different than you. It's just like, it just continues.
It's every generation. Yes.
People don't like change, and you're changing it up here. And I've done it this way, and this works. And why are you changing it? And
and
it doesn't work.
They might be doing it the same way you did when you were their age as well.
That's true. That's very true.
So this is the thing that kills me is every time I'm in the car with Rich and he's driving, he just complains about Washington drivers. Everywhere we go, it's Washington drivers suck. Washington drivers suck. But it doesn't matter what state we're in. He complains about the drivers there. Arizona drivers, California drivers. And so now when he says it, I don't respond ever. I kind of laugh a little bit to myself because it's just, he just wants to complain.
Yeah. You don't go, oh yeah, they're definitely worse than the California drivers. Or like,
I should
try to like,
when we were in Arizona, and he was
buy
just
into the
complaining
conversation
so much about how the Arizona drivers speed to every stoplight and like slam on their brakes.
That's how you drive a golf cart.
He got flipped off by an old lady in surprise.
Oh my God, I love it.
She hung her hand out the window.
Good for her. Spice. I'm gonna be a spicy old lady. I kind of am.
I'm just gonna get you middle finger stickers.
Yes. I have a shirt with the middle finger up. I won't tell you what the rest of it says. Just kidding.
All right. That was great. Thank you so much. And don't forget, if you want your own fun little piece of fan fiction, rainydayrabitholes.com/support. You can sign up to be a patron. If you're a patron, hey, why don't you send me an email, Shay, S-A-G-A, at rainydayrabitholes.com. Give me a little info about yourself. Tell us if there's an episode that you want a piece of fiction written about you, and we will get around to you. We're going to go through all of our Patreon supporters, and then we will move on to other people. But if you want to bust into that, you can just buy an episode. So there will be a button on the rainydayrabitholes.com/support for that. So remember, you can buy your own piece of bespoke fan fiction. Makes a great gift. Very unique. Nobody else is going to have that gift. Great way to impress your father-in-law or your mother-in-law.
Yes. Making them a historical figure.
There you go. All right. Well, we thank you guys so much, and
see you down the rabbit hole.